Content warning. This podcast contains bones, blood, smut, and swear words.
Before we get into the good shit this week, we wanted to remind you that we have launched a Patreon. For just a few bucks a month, you get extended games, brand new content, access to our notes and murder boards, and much more. So if you would like to sponsor Marie's much-needed after-school tutoring program to teach Hannah how to use the internet, you can head to patreon.com/frontline5th or follow the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to that sweet, sweet bone zone action.
Act 1. Welcome, penitents. Hello and welcome to the Frontline 5th, a Locked Tomb podcast where newly minted lictors explore the Locked Tomb series for the first time, while a couple of dried-out bone witches cackle over how little they really know. We're currently reading Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and this week we are going full prepper, because number 7 is basically at our door in chapters 35 through 37. I'm Hannah, and even I do not decorate with pulsating tubes and organs, so I'm a little icked out this week. But luckily, I've got Marie to help me through it. Marie, I, like Mercy Morn, am depressingly bad at Pictionary. What is a game that you dominate and or routinely embarrass yourself playing?
A game that I can usually do pretty well at, not necessarily dominate, depends on who I'm playing with, is Bananagrams.
Oh, nice.
Not Scrabble.
Can I
Only
ask you a
Bananagrams.
clarifying question? I am actually very, very, very good at Bananagrams if you play the way the game is supposed to be played, which is based on speed. But my family, who is objectively too cool for me, play based on vibes of words and how impressive your big words are. So it's not a winning thing. And they're all like, oh, you did so good winning, Hannah. My family's too smart for me.
It changes depending on our mood.
Yeah.
It's the first one done wins. That's all it is.
Brooke and I.
See, and you guys are the ones who say that you're collaborative gamers. This is the only one where I prefer to be a collaborative gamer. I would like to find the fun word rather than the fastest word.
What?
This is so funny. Oh, well, also with us today are 2 4-year-olds who keep following us around just because they have mad necromancy skills and a dead and eaten best friend. That's right. It's Brooke and John. Brooke, John, are you Pictionary heroes? What's your game to win or lose?
I'm not that good at Pictionary. I think I like passable. I'm really good at set. I've mentioned this before. I usually crush people at set.
I really want to play with Brooke now. I want, we got to video a game sesh.
Hell yeah. John, what about you?
I'm either 100% we are trying as hard as we can, or we are having a very casual time where the results don't matter, and there is nothing in between for these types of things. So our family's game of choice is
Yet again, John and I 100% aligned.
So our family's game of choice is Monopoly. And
this is wild to me. So upsetting.
The cousins would always play it when we got together, and it turned into an absolutely insane thing where we would be able to play 5 or 6 games of Monopoly a day, because we had our own house rules that streamlined the thing. So all dollar amounts got rounded to the nearest 5. Nobody could use dollars. You had to any negotiating, you just kept rolling no matter it just we kept the whole game moving as much as possible. And so that has resolved into almost several gigantic family fights over the results of Monopoly.
Is anybody ever good at Monopoly?
Oh no, it's mostly a luck based medium. So
that's what I thought.
My family who loves gambling loves Monopoly. Yeah. The other one I was just going to say was Twilight Imperium, a giant board game that I was invited to play with some of the boys from your crew when they need a sub for game night. It is Game of Thrones Space Risk, and the games take 8 to 10 hours. It takes up the entire table. And so they invited me to play, and I was like, well, they're some of the smartest people I know. I need to come prepared. And so what I did was I found the one podcast that covers this game exclusively and goes through everything. I listened to about 60 hours of podcast and went through a bunch of other things.
Oh my God, you did background research before you won it.
And I showed up and I won.
This is so funny. So John's Twilight Imperium crew was my old gaming crew before I left San Diego. And I also, see, my style of gaming is this thing where I am very collaborative. I will give you all sorts of things. I'm like, oh, no, it's okay after you. But I also do win. So it's this thing where...
and all this time you've been saying you're a collaborative gamer. This also reminds me that I got my youngest into Risk, and he wants to play it all the time now. And I'm like, we don't have 4 hours.
Please tell your youngest to hit me up because I love Risk. But this is my thing. If it's a competitive game, I like to win, but in a way where I don't cut anyone else off. I don't steal anyone else's stuff.
You just don't want anyone else to lose. You want them to lose after you gave them every chance for success.
100%. But my favorite games are ones that are actually collaborative. So like my go-to game literally since college has been Pandemic, which is a fully collaborative game where it's you against all of the epidemics in the world. And I really love that. But anything that's like way too complicated and takes 45 minutes to explain, that is my game. Like I dominate at Wingspan. I dominate at Everdell. I dominate it at like variations of Catan. I fucking hate Catan base game. I don't understand why people like that game. It's a bad game. Knights and Cities, mwah, but regular Catan, terrible. I literally have... I wish I could show you.
What I'm learning is that we actually... The second Bone Zone Media podcast needs to be a board game podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Before we get into all the hanging tubules and whatnot, what were your big takeaways from these chapters?
John and I were texting about this. The big takeaway was that we get the answers to so many questions in these chapters, and yet I still don't understand what's happening, especially around like the time of resurrection.
Feels like he's like almost like spinning a fable, and I'm still on like God Emperor is a bad person and kind of full of shit. And so like what he says is not quite accurate, I guess.
We should give him a little benefit of the doubt. Like think about like how your stories evolve about your life from like a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago. And then imagine you telling a story about something that happened in your life 10,000 years ago.
Shortly after you became God.
No, this is a good point. It would be hard to... I can't remember what I had for breakfast. I didn't have anything for breakfast.
No, I just want you to tell me about, like, I don't know, Marie, your faculty position process, right? Like, it's going to sound really different today than it did when you were going through it months ago.
And it'll sound very different in 20 years. Marie's like, no.
No, it does. It does, because...
That's the reason I say 10 years from now, you're going to be telling a very different story.
But that's what I mean. Like, it already is a different story because it has to be a different story.
Yes.
Like, things have actually changed.
I just would like to point out, my analogy is very good.
It's perfect.
It's a Calamities level analogy.
It is a Calamities level analogy.
Anyway.
Brooke... I showed Hannah this last night because we were hanging out, and it's just so funny because Brooke and I were discussing this episode, and Brooke just sent me not that it was particularly needed, but just hilarious. Brooke sent me just a diagram of the, basically, uterus. Just like, I was like, yes, thank you from you can't see it, from the Cleveland Clinic. Like, this is clearly what I needed in my life. But yes, the one thing is just there's a lot of reproductive imagery in these chapters at Cannon House. It's very interesting.
I don't remember what I felt reading these the first time. I do know that reading these the second time, I feel the way that I feel a lot in parts of this book, and especially in Nona, which is like the first time you read it, you're like, we got some answers! And then you look at it and you're like, thank you for nothing. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
You review it, you try and like adjust your whole understanding of the plot of these books, and you realize you don't have enough to work with still.
Lots of details. So funny. And still
not enough.
Lots of details, indeed, but also lots of vibes. So like we will get into it, but I have two favorite things from these chapters. One is the entire acid jail monologue, which I love that video that you sent us, Marie. And that section is so fucking funny that I have the whole thing in here. The other thing that I love, though, actually is these descriptions of what the resurrection beasts look like.
Right.
And this is something, so I actually almost made the game this week. Everyone knows what a resurrection beast looks like, where we design our own. So maybe we'll do that at some point just for fun as like a bonus game. But they're just so chaotic and fascinating. And for me, they vibe very much as like Studio Ghibli, like these
it's very much an anime, right?
Yes, and so I love them very much. So that's my takeaway this week. Let us move right along to our meme watch.
As I was telling Brooke, and I was like, I gotta save it for the pod. This is the set of chapters that makes me go, fuck you, Tamsin. Because this is the stupidest Reddit and Tumblr, like 2000s memes. And Annabelle Leogan and Annie Laurie and Bible verses. All together in the same fucking chapter.
You're absolutely right there. It's remarkable how much there is together there.
Like, this is the one where it's like, we haven't had memes. And then we get all of these. Okay, so let's start. First one is, may not have caught that this was a meme, when Mercy Morn is going through and talking about the resurrection beast, and she's like, next. And then she goes, it's a resurrection beast, honey. Thank you. Next. That actually is a deep cut. That's a meme. And it is a reference to, like, I think it was just when you Google next exclamation point meme, you will get like a thread on Reddit where somebody's asking, why is everybody commenting next on everything? And it's because of this screenshot from a Facebook forum. And I'm just going to read the highlights from this, okay? This person on Facebook, I don't know what group this was in on Facebook, comments, so pissed. ISO in search of transportation for 20 people from MSP Monday morning. And the first comment is...
Sorry, Marie is leaving out all the exclamation points. Just in that, there were 6 or 7. Do go on, Marie.
Pairs of 3s or 4 only.
I'm trying to read it as Mercy Morn. But this is very much like, this feels like this was the inspiration for Mercy.
For Mercy.
Okay? The first comment is, try something bus lines. Try redacted bus lines. Response, yeah, nope, cost money. Next! So you're expecting almost 100 miles worth of mass transit for 20 people from a complete stranger for free. Good luck with that. It's for a church, honey. Just looking for help. Don't need the attitude. Next! And then it just keeps going of like every single comment from this original commenter is still looking. Next! Next! Next!
Can we just say the still looking is 1 minute after she said it's for a church, honey?
Oh my God, I can't believe you. That's wild. The other thing that's wild is like people are being really actually thoughtful and generous here. There's a number of people who are like, I have a minivan that seats 6.
20 people!
Next!
It's so good.
Wild. I thought that was a hilarious line. Did not know that it had history.
I definitely did not. I was like, I'm sitting there Googling. I'm like, did Thank You Next by Ariana Grande come out before this? I feel like it didn't.
Not early enough.
It technically did, but it did not come out when she was writing.
Exactly. And this is so much better. This is so much more accurate to everything that Mercy Morn is. It's beautiful.
And then, Brooke, you caught something that you're like, maybe this is a reference.
Oh yeah, snake in a bush seemed weird and out of the blue. It's an ancient fable, I guess, talking of a snake that got caught up in a thorny bush, and then the bush gets swept away in a flood, and a fox nearby says, a wicked ship worthy of its sailor. And so the moral of this fable is that evil people are brought down by their evil company.
This is fascinating. I, as a child, just went straight to some sort of euphemism. Snake in a bush felt really,
well,
sorry.
Only
I like
if it
your
came from
fable
Augustine.
better.
I think all the rest of these are in the next chapter and like kind of like all in the same space when Harrow is talking to Jod. And she's asking him why he's shut away. And he says, right, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And this is really interesting because it is a psalm in the Bible. But it's basically, right, like, as a person who believes in God, right, like, if the Lord is the light of my salvation, whom shall I fear? I shouldn't fear anybody because God will save me. Well, if you're God saying that, it's ironic.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing, he says it again, but he says it in Latin. But also, that is the motto of Oxford University. And apparently kind of the reason that Oxford has that as its motto is because it means like the relationship of things to God, who is light, must be understood. That's why it's the motto of a university.
Was Oxford like a monastery at one point?
Maybe, I don't know. But also like anything that's like an old university is going to have pretty churchy Catholic.
A connection to a church?
Connections, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And then probably the most egregious meme reference that she has ever made. I think another reason for the Latin translation is to make the connection between Dominus Dominicus, which is the name of the sun, and light. So essentially saying if something happens to him, the sun will go out.
Yeah.
So he's locked away to prevent something happening to him, to prevent the 9 houses becoming none house with left grief. And I would like you to click that link, please, in case you have never seen this.
Fuck is this?
Whoever gets there first, would you like to describe what you are seeing?
The literal saddest pizza of all time.
No, this is none pizza with left beef, which is a direction for how to make pizza through Domino's online ordering system. They wanted a none pizza, but on the left side, beef.
Just like why is putting together... This is so bizarre. Yeah, what could you build on this? A meme is supposed to be something that you then can like expand on and put your own information in.
This is actually
how
hilarious.
Did this end up on the internet? How did this end up on the internet? The Great Pizza Orientation Test.
So yeah, I think we can just read it from Wikipedia if you have never experienced this, because if you know, then you read that and you were like through the book. And if you don't know, this is completely and totally puzzling and bizarre. None pizza with left beef was a pizza delivery experiment conducted by Stephen Malaro in October 2007. After testing the accuracy of the then new Domino's online ordering system, the results were posted on his blog, The Sneeze, after which it evolved into an internet meme. So basically he wanted to see, would they actually make the most bizarre pizza ever? And so this was like the whole thing where you could do choose your toppings, whole, left, right, none.
Oh, I used this system a lot in college.
I have to tell you, this sort of thing, this is why I hate memes. Marie, I am not going to take your class on the internet. I'm not doing it.
Wait, but the critique of this is so funny. He says so they correctly did not put anything on this round of bread except nuggets of beef. And I guess the guy said the whole pizza was so small and light, it must have shifted during delivery. And the little beef pellets didn't have any sauce or cheese to hang on to. So a few lost their footing from the left half to end up on the right half.
Can I just say a fucking really obnoxious thing? So the other thing that it says here is that the first, with pepperoni on the left and mushrooms on the right, arrived correctly partitioned, although reversed from the specific left-right orientation. And I'm like, it's a circle. Well, it's not, there is no left and right. It depends on the angle you're looking at.
If you scroll down, you can see it became very popular. Most readers enjoyed his post, but Malero later recalled pedantic negative feedback about the relativity of pizza apps.
From me! That's because he's wrong. He's a fucking asshole based on this
Apparently
one
he
thing.
Addressed it in the original post, so he was aware.
That's really funny.
It's a classic internet thing of if you want something to like get the proper response, just say the wrong thing, and then somebody will rush to correct you. You don't ask the question, you just post the wrong answer, and you will get the answer faster.
God, I hate myself so much right now.
Okay. Well, the last reference
Jesus.
is to
are we
Annie
still talking
Laurie.
about Tamsin Muir?
Did you see that? Did you see that she's in the Wikipedia article. Tamsin Muir's Locked Tomb series of novels are suffused with references to internet memes, including none pizza with left beef. When asked about the reference by Vox in 2021, the Catholic Muir defended why she was very specific.
Great band name. Great band name.
I would say ex-Catholic. I would say ex-Catholic.
Sorry. The Catholic Muir defended the contemporary references by comparing herself to authors who commonly reference classic works like the Iliad. It's not because I set about to make a book particularly memey. It's just because I've got a shit sense of humor. I think of John 3:16 the way I think about none pizza with left beef.
I love that quote.
That's a great quote.
Which is why our next meme is Annie Laurie. which is a ballad about a, I don't know, kind of like
Bonnie Lass,
like kind of like a doomed love kind of a thing. I think it was like during like the Jacobite Highland uprising.
Yes,
I
of
think
course.
my favorite thing about this poem is in the second verse. So like the last line of the first verse is, "And for Bonnie Annie Laurie, I'd lay down my head and die." And then it starts up, "She's backit like the peacock, she's breasted like the swan. She's jimp about the middle, her waist ye wheel may spawn."
You're describing Kim Kardashian.
Absolute bars. All right.
Her waist ye wheel may spawn, and she has a rolling eye. And for
She's
Bonnie
literally a
Annie
Barbie.
Laurie, I'd lay down my head and die.
I'm pretty sure there's a Nicki Minaj song with this exact lyrics.
There better be.
So,
That was incredible. I kind of think that collection of memes is all you need to know in order to navigate all of literature. But in case you need more, we do have some SAT prep. So what she got for us today, Marie?
we've got dueling SAT prep, so we can do mine, and then we can do, I think, the more erudite Brooks. Okay? So mine today is just choose the words to describe the snow in Canaan House that Tamsin did not use in the chapter.
Ah.
Okay? So we have bloody, red, carmine, pinkish, cherry, and cerise.
I remember distinctly that she uses carmine.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm saying she didn't use cherry, but she did use cerise, which is the French word for cherry.
I think she actually used pinkish.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I think she used bloody.
Yep.
So how many, Marie, do we get told how many of these she did not use?
Nope.
No.
She did just say
Okay.
one, though. She indicated one in the way she talked about it. I'm saying cerise, cherry as the only one.
Final
I
answer?
think she used them all.
Final answer?
My answer is Marie always cheats.
You are correct!
I live in optimism.
Okay, well, Brooke, what's our secondary SAT prep?
Okay, there were some cool words around people leaving their religious beliefs. Apostate, that is the person who abandons their religious beliefs or cause or political cause, general morals. Apostate. It's a good word.
It's a great word and an interesting type of person. So I grew up in Utah, and actually there's something really interesting about ex-Mormons and about the way when something has suffused your entire life and it's the way you understood everything, and then you try to turn your back on it, it's really destabilizing, actually. I don't know, just an interesting thought. Go on.
Funny that you use the word to turn your back on something, because that's our next word, is the Latin word for that, which is tergiversation. Tergiversation? How would you guys say that?
Don't ask me.
Tergiversation. Terga means back. Vertere means to turn. So literally, to turn one's back on someone else. Or,
Very
changing your
nice.
loyalties.
Wow. Well, my loyalties remain with the Frontline Fifth. So, dear listener, lean back, relax, and try not to look out the window at the passing heralds as we present Harrow the Ninth, Episode 13. Into the river with us, boys. Act 2. It's a resurrection beast, honey. Thank you. Next.
This section of Frontline 5th is safe for anyone who hasn't read past Chapter 37 and Harrow the Ninth.
Let's recap. Chapter 36, Herald Skull. 1 week before the Emperor's murder. The resurrection beast draws near. Mercy draws a squiggle. The body departs. Chapter 37, Ninth House Skull. Who was Annabelle Lee? You tell God of the unlocked tomb.
Well, ever since her encounter with the presumed dead Canaanites, Harrow has been wandering around the Mithraeum in a fog, just praying that Judith is wrong about there being a traitor somewhere on the Mithraeum. But she doesn't have a lot of time for deep introspection, prayer, soul-searching, etc., because one day, alarms go off and boom, all the doors on the Mithraeum slam closed. While everyone else is checking in, it becomes clear that Mercy is in acute distress. So it's a really funny moment with everyone checking in with their initials, right?
Including a GP. Gideon Pira. It's not even like a good wink at this point. Like, is there a world in which somebody didn't figure this out even, like...
Yes!
Did you guys figure...
Okay.
So
thanks.
Good. So good.
Next.
Well, but this is the kind of thing where, like, yes, it's incredibly clear if you're looking at it closely, but the truth is it's buried in a very fast moment. Everybody's checking in. Ianthe is like, I'm here, but I don't know what the fuck my call sign is. Harrow jumps in with her call sign because... and everybody laughs.
At her, not with her.
Mercy does not check in. Mercy is just like lowing in animal pain, right? And that's because she was looking at something in space and she got less than a second of visual of the resurrection beast. Number 7 is here, blue like Loveday's eyes. And it can see her sin. Like it's a fucked up moment. From then on, basically, the shutters on the Mithraeum are never going to come up again. In her room, Harrow lies alone with the body, who says, it's coming, it's near, in genuine astonishment. And Harrow, lying there with the body's beautiful flesh in just desperate need of someone or something to cling to, she reaches out for the body in a kind of lust, begging her, please, please. She tries to kiss those dead lips. She tries to grasp at that beautiful corpse. And the body says, I have to go away for a while.
I always think that's interesting because the body is like genuinely astonished, but not afraid.
Yeah, like straight up surprised. But it's a really sad moment too, because like Harrow feels like she did something wrong that forced the body to go away. The body's like, well, you didn't do anything, but the body is indeed gone when she wakes up. Life, nevertheless, has to go on. And the Elder Lictors start, for the first time in like 9 months, actually teaching Ianthe and Harrow about what they will be up against. So in that like dining room area, Mercy pulls in a whiteboard and attempts to draw a diagram. She draws the river as a cylinder with 4 layers. There's the Epiroic, Mesozoic, Bathyroic, and Barathron. And she draws the resurrection beast as a squiggle, which everyone immediately mocks. Until Mercy bursts out, and I had to include the whole thing because it's my fave. I hate you all. I have hated you for millennia, except you, my lord. I merely want to put you in a jail and fill up the jail with acid once for every time you made a frivolous remark, or ate peanuts in a cohort admiralty meeting, or said, what would I know? I'm only God. And then at the end of the 1,000 years, you would say, Mercy, I have learned not to do any of these things because I hated the acid you put on me. I often think about this.
Is there a specific reason that you left out the sentence that provides Mercy with some apostatic motive? That's why I did it, Lord. I did it for you and for your empire.
No, I did not leave it out on purpose. I was like, it's the least interesting sentence, and I had already typed in too much. I was just feeling embarrassed. So can you tell me why you think this gives Mercy an apostatic motive?
It means she's willing to hurt God for the greater good.
But she's willing to hurt God for his greater good. So isn't that kind of like a weird in-between space? It's a weird in-between space.
No, for the greater good never really genuinely takes that person's opinions into account.
Yeah, but it says, I did it for you.
Yes, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be dipped in acid.
You're right. It also is great because his main response to this...
once, discreetly.
That's right. He's like, it was one time, Mercy. Such a great moment.
I refuse to believe that it was once in 10,000 years. I refuse to believe that.
Oh, there's no way. They are there for educational purposes, right? So she's drawn this squiggle on purpose. She's trying to explain to them what it looks like to fight a resurrection beast. They are going to fight the resurrection beast in the Epiroic layer for hours until it tires and tries to flee. And then they can wrestle it down and down and down to the Barathron and force it through a stoma. Simple. Not... Which, by the way, is kind of its own meme. The entire 90s is not like...
Not.
Anyway, each lictor is going to take a quadrant to fight the beast. And since I already complained about the left-rightness, how do we know what's northeast, west, and south in the river? Anyway, fine. But
obviously the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Not
in the river?
Not in space.
Also true. Great point. That's only a planetary feature.
The enemy's gate is down, which, God, referencing another great book, shitty author. God damn it.
Yes. But yes. Oh, God. We could do a deep dive on Ender's Game. Okay. Here we go. Mercy's like, Ortis, you take this section. Augustine, you take this section. Ianthe, you take this section, and I'll take this section. And Harrow's like, I am also here. And Mercy says, just don't get in the way. Harrow can sort of, fill in the gaps or whatever until she dies, because everyone knows she's inevitably gonna die.
Also, don't distract us with your death.
Right. So the whole strategy hinges on forcing this resurrection beast through the stoma, which is the mouth to hell, according to God.
I don't know. I don't think a stoma is usually referred to as a mouth. It replaces a butthole.
This is funny. I think of stoma. So I think of stoma in the context of stomata, which are plants, organs for exchanging air.
And then John reminded me what the more medical definition of stoma is.
As a surgical created
It's a
opening.
bypass.
It's what you get for whatever stomy, whatever.
It's how you get waste out of your body without going through the proper channels, which is really interesting.
Oh, that's wild. That's exactly what it is here.
Yep. It's an alternate exit pathway for waste.
Which is really interesting.
So not a mouth to hell.
But also, like, plant stomas look like little mouths, like they're little lips.
They do. And they also exchange air in both directions. So there's something interesting here that potentially Tamsin is telling us it could be one or it could be both, right? Like either of these things would be interesting. And it's interesting if people are only thinking about it one way. Yeah, I have no idea. We know very little about the stoma, Marie and I, so I'm not giving you spoilers. I'm just speculating along with you.
I do really enjoy that your note, Brooke, says, nice try, but a stoma actually replaces a butthole.
Nice try.
Yep. We did kind of skip over it, but I think it's interesting that they named the sections of the river in the same way that you cover the zones of the ocean, right? It's like the
pelagic zones.
Yeah, just going through it. Yeah, as you go deeper, less ghosts show up.
So what does Roic mean?
I think it refers to river.
What were you saying about how the ghosts show up, John?
Well, they're just saying, remember, he's the only ghost down there. If he believed in sin, only the ghosts that heavily weighed down by sin would end up down at the bottom.
Well, let's see. The ocean layers are kind of related to the existence of sunlight. And then it's a sort of ecological layers.
And so here it's proximity to life, potentially, as opposed to proximity to light.
It's also just hilarious because it's God, too, right? His domain, the darkest part, he is light, he is the sun. As you get to the deepest part,
yes,
it's no longer his domain.
Okay, and the closest to hell, that's what the whole sin thing is supposed to be. Ooh, I don't like that analogy. I
think it's intriguing.
It doesn't feel like this is a world where there's a lot of thinking about that. About your soul being damned?
Not necessarily in those terms. I would argue that almost nobody is very, very religious except for the 9th house and the 8th house. And the 9th house are weirdly religious about the tomb and about God. And then the 8th house, I feel is kind of that energy of sin, cleanliness, purity, get rid of all earthly material objects. But they don't talk about sin in the context of being
what it means
damned.
For your afterlife.
Right.
But that's the thing, and you're in a necromantic world. They know what the afterlife is. It is the river. There for anybody, no matter how good or bad you were.
Yeah, so it's so weird to suddenly bring up weighed down by sin.
I mean, he also says he doesn't really believe it. He almost used it as an analogy.
It's weird. It's just weird to me, is all. It always stands out to me every time I read it. Because I'm we don't talk like this in these books. This is weird to me. We say, the indelible sin of lictorhood.
You're right. That's the only real sin.
The only reason it's even considered a sin is because there is some larger force that is trying to punish them for it, right? So,
exactly.
Sin almost doesn't exist without that larger force to make you feel bad or, make you panic over it.
Yeah, it's just, it just always strikes me as, that's weird.
Well, preparations continue, with the Saints of Duty and Patience doing the training montage that Brooke and John predicted was going to happen at the end of last book.
God. How could we have predicted the rest of this shit?
No, there's no fucking way. I just loved it at the end. You were like, well, they're going to have some sort of training montage for how to be a lictor. No, they refused to teach them. They're terrible teachers.
Rude.
Okay. The teacher offers again that Harrow can stay with him when the resurrection beast comes. And so Harrow asks, I think, this obvious question, which is why the Necrolord Prime, the most powerful necromancer, the literal god of this universe, has to be locked inside an airless room and can't fight off the resurrection beast. Isn't he more or less omnipotent? So he explains that when he did the original resurrection, he was responsible for reigniting the star Dominicus. If he sends his soul into the river, his necromancy will fail in the real world. You know, like when the lictors send their souls into the river, they no longer have necromancy. Their calves take over. And so as a result, the star will go out, collapse, and become a black hole. He says, if I fought the resurrection beast, I'd leave my houses to die. If I fought the heralds, I might well go mad, which would be the same thing. So I'm shut in here, walled in really, to prevent the 9 houses becoming none house with left grief.
I also, so when I was frantically murder boarding last week for last week's episode, I was trying to figure this out. This was one of my like 27 questions I had on my murder board, which is why do we have to lock God in airless tomb? And my original thought was, because like he lictored the devil or death or something. So when he like goes under, like death takes over. And so I was just picturing this really funny scene that's no longer relevant because he explains it. But I was picturing this really funny scene where he's like floating with 0 air. And like the devil took over his body and is trying to get out by just like blowing to try to get to a wall like the entire time. Like, because he can't move around because he's just floating in 0 gravity. So like a demon or a devil is just like trying to like push him towards a wall.
Fucking funny. And that's such a beautiful, John, that is such a lovely medley of fantasy and sci-fi where you're like, we have to operate according to 0 gravity.
But that obviously makes less sense now, but it would have been really funny.
That's very fucking funny. So Harrow pivots and asks, who was AL? And it's such a hard question. Jod is like, can you ask me an easier one, like how babies are made? By the way, are you and Ianthe being safe? To which Harrow is like, we are not intimate. Neither are we romantic. Neither are we platonic. But Jod relents, tells her, AL was Jod's bodyguard, a.k.a. Annabelle Lee, a.k.a. Annie Laurie, a.k.a. First One. She had a real name, but I buried it with her, and nobody says it anymore. When the world ended via rising sea levels and a massive nuclear fission chain reaction, do you guys both want to applaud yourselves? Because you basically did, I feel like that was a thing you had, was rising sea levels and nuclear explosions. No one?
I think we definitely had the flood. Yeah. Well,
yeah. You've been talking about nuclear bunkers forever, too.
Oh, that's true. All right. Yeah, we'll give ourselves a star.
We'll give you a soft pat on the back. This is not a champagne party.
That was such a mediocre reaction to that. I thought you guys were going to read that and be like, ha-ha!
I thought so, too. I thought you guys were really going to like that one.
It's almost... I mean, okay, I think partly we get, like, kind of, like, used to expectations for a while. Kind of like how I did not give myself all that much credit for predicting that Pal would come back as a Revenant, because I was just like, yeah, that's just clearly being set up. So I was very prepared for it. This is one of those things where it's just like you've been sitting with it for a while. Also, just in general, I think, like, these kinds of, like, futuristic books usually have to start with the inevitable conclusion of today's calamities.
There's a pattern, and it's almost always nuclear war.
Yeah.
I totally get it. It's very, very common. I actually wrote a paper in college about post-nuclear apocalyptic fiction.
Yeah.
So when the world ended, John was now the first necromancer, an effective god, and his first resurrection was AL. And then when they learned about the sin, blah, 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 much later, the resurrection beast came and chased them to the ends of the universe. She died after that first terrible assault. Jod changes topics. He tells Harrow that she'd make a hell of a daughter, and sometimes he wishes she were his. And this fucking breaks Harrow, breaks her so hard. She throws her glass onto the table and kneels in the shards, and she admits to her god her greatest sin. She tells him that she broke into the locked tomb. And he basically says, no, you didn't.
You think you do, but you don't, yeah.
Sorry, yes, John.
1,000%. It is
That's
that.
exactly it. It's exactly that.
Oh,
God.
Doesn't he actually say, whatever you think you did, you didn't do it?
Yeah.
Basically, he says, you didn't do this. Harrow's like, I'm pretty sure I did. And he explains that the tomb is literally protected by a blood ward. Jod's blood ward. Only Jod's blood could break it. So if the tomb keepers were laboring under some sort of delusion that it was a door that could be opened, they were wrong. And Harrow knows herself to be insane, and she can't be sure, so she doesn't follow up. She doesn't add any details. And Jod leans forward to comfort Harrow and brushes a lock of hair back behind her ear and then says, Harrow, who the hell's been tampering with your temporal lobe? And Harrow pieces the fuck out.
And scene.
Nice.
Meanwhile...
Wait, we're just going to skip over that?
John, we'll get to this. We'll get to this. Yeah, I've got an outline for us and rampant speculation around this.
Meanwhile, back at Canaan House. Act 3. Absolutely ghastly, bordering on shitty.
Let's recap. Chapter 35, Broken Ninth House Skull. Cannon House gets cold and gooey. Teacher goes mad?
Canaan House has gotten very, very, very cold. The bloody fog had turned to sleet. The sleet had, in its time, turned to ice. A soft snow began falling like volcanic ash.
It's fucking nuts.
But it's also gotten weird. So sometimes the snow fell red. They have stopped fishing because the last time Teacher saw what they pulled up, he refused to cook it or let anyone see it. And that's not all. There are the organs. Yes, those aren't great. There are great slithering, pulsing tubes.
God.
They're everywhere. And when they cut those tubes, they bleed a gush of salt water and then it jellifies into brown goo. Yum.
There's a reason I worked with microbes and plants.
Oh, God. So everyone has been busy. Everyone, Ordis doesn't go down to the facility, but many people have been busy laying down wards around the sleeper's coffin, which, by the way, is a continuous pillar that goes down beneath the facility. So they don't actually know whether the sleeper will trip those wards, but they're going to learn something either way. Our remaining Canaanites are not really warriors. We've got Abigail, spirit magician, Magnus, who of course Cavalier primaried rather than being the greatest swordsman of his generation, Dulcinea, who frankly should be dead, and Ordis, who, sad sack that he is, does not want to die. So in short, our hero's front line against the gun-wielding has-suit monster is Harrow with her skeletons, Lieutenant Marta Dias, and Protesilaus VII.
It took me up until now to realize we hadn't seen Ianthe in these chapters.
Right.
Important note. That's true. Ianthe is missing. We've saw Coronabeth get pushed. We have not seen Ianthe.
I don't know if we've seen Babs either.
We haven't seen Babs. We haven't seen Column. We haven't seen Ianthe.
Sorry, let me rephrase this. It's not that we just haven't seen her. As far as we can tell, she's not here. Like, she's not considered as part of this, like, frontline lineup.
That's the weird thing. When Abigail says, go see if you can find the Tridentarii, she says Coronabeth and mentions Ianthe, like, Ianthe if you can.
Babs
never
doesn't get
says
mentioned.
anything. It does not mention Babs.
So weird.
And they also, the fourth house is missing as well.
But they're squirreled away though, right? Like we think they're alive.
Yeah, Abigail said something. She put them somewhere.
Yeah, all 6 of the people that were killed by. Am I doing the numbers right? Yeah, everyone who got killed by Kytherea is alive in this version, right?
Not. Okay, I mean, actually, I feel like this is something where it is worth going through house by house so that you can be clear.
4th house is alive. 5th house is alive. She didn't kill the 2nd house. That was Teacher fighting Teacher, right? So,
right, but we see Marta, but we don't see. But Judith
and
got
Marta
killed.
is alive, and Judith got killed.
Right.
Yeah. So so everyone that Kytherea killed in original Cannon House is still alive in this version.
The teens, Magnus and Abigail, and Silas and Column, I guess.
Well,
we don't see a Column.
Column wasn't killed by Kytherea.
Column was killed by Silas.
Column was killed by Silas sending his soul.
Or no, Column was killed by Anthe.
Well, possessed. Yeah. I mean, depends who you're assigning blame to, right?
Sure.
Technically, it's Silas sending him so deep in the river he got possessed, and then we snapped his.
Yikes.
And then
okay.
Column kills Silas, right? Yeah. So so everyone Kytherea is killed is alive.
Except we haven't. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Weird.
Actually, including Protesilaus and Dulcinea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. Pause. Okay, so what are we talking about behind Brooke's back? Marie, you look so concerned.
I can't get back into screw, thump, thump, thump.
This is going to be meaningless content for most of our listeners.
No, we definitely trim this out.
Listeners, tell us how you do sake bombs. So we have a limited front line of warriors to go up against the sleeper, and actually one of them, Harrow, is having to make a brand new insane necromancy just to make her constructs work at these sub-zero temperatures. Teacher has quite frankly gone madder, and I love him all the more for it. He has taken to wandering around, desperately trying and failing to get drunk on thistle shrub spirits. He comes in and just like starts ranting at them. So he has a lot to say here. I'm not sure what's important, so I'm just going to kind of spit it out. Canaan House never changed color or shape with the seasons. It was untouched by time for 10,000 years. It never hailed, it never snowed, and we certainly never saw Fimbria hanging from the rafters.
Dude, I didn't know what we were gonna like necessarily do with these organs until he called them fimbrae, which are the reason I sent John a nice diagram of the uterus.
What are fimbrae?
The little fingers that catch the eggs from the ovaries.
There's several other pieces of here that if we're looking at this from a reproductive angle, like could be contextualized that way. There's tiny little like black things swimming through tubes.
Oh, wait, and what is that?
I assumed that was like sperm, essentially. Like they mentioned orbs at some point. Like one of the shapes they form is like an orb getting like held up. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird and gross. The human body is disgusting.
The human body is disgusting. Can confirm biology is so gross, you guys. Teacher also thinks that he believes they are being punished for what they did. He says even the devil bent for God to put a leash around her neck. The lictors were terrified. They bade him kill the saltwater creature before she could do them harm.
That's so interesting. The saltwater thing, John, like how are you wrapping around your head, or any of us wrapping our head around the whole saltwater thing? Like in science, saltwater is conductive.
And corrosive.
Up until recently, I didn't realize that the river was salty until these chapters when they're describing like Harrow, or when the lictors are taking Harrow and Ianthe into the river for some training. Like they talk about like salty winds or something.
Well, there's also...
You always described it like an estuary. You always, like, there was something you said early when we were talking about the river, about there's like, you can have places where like the river meets the ocean.
Brackish.
Yeah, that's true. That is the brackish water.
There's also the saltwater pool of the ninth house where they go to talk about things. The tomb is surrounded by salt. The actual body is surrounded by salt water.
And now we're saying that this is a saltwater creature. Yeah, I guess the main question is saltwater something that keeps out good or allows in good?
Like in like magic, salt is protective. You make a ring of salt.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Also, Brooke, I will paraphrase Terry Pratchett, which is... there's no such thing as good or evil. They're just names for different sides.
Yeah.
So teacher also says, Reverend daughter, your whole house treads upon a knife's edge as keepers of such a zoo. You worship a monster in a box and play at being the masters of its tomb. Now we have a monster in a box, and it has become obvious that it means to master us all.
Dude, savage. I feel like Silas tried to make that point at some point.
Teacher also says, let me prophesy in my old age, the sleeper is getting up the strength to wake completely and colonize what it finds.
Colonize!
Tell me more, Brooke.
Freaky because there's like organs growing into the house. That feels like a really terrifying form of colonization, especially when it's like reproductive organs.
There's another phrase in here. Its weapons will ruin your flesh, will not stop until it has assumed its quarry. So like it will not stop till it's consumed what it's after.
And worse, he says, your swords will not rend its armor. It would only acknowledge the blade without. All we have are blades within. It has seen them and made them dull. There is no hero left among us.
I didn't know what to make of that.
So Abigail tries to assuage his fear, invites him to join the rest of them where it's safe. They keep watches, blah, blah, blah. And he says, and it's the most Hannah teacher glorious moment, and miss out on the chance to die? I've been wandering these halls at 3 o'clock in the morning, saying at the top of my voice, it would be terrible to be shot. And he like throws his bottle at a red squishy organ, which gives out a wet blarp. And then he cries out, the king is dead. Long live the king. And goes capering off down the hall.
With also, what does he say about diving into the river boys?
Into the river boys.
50 can school like fishes.
And of course, Abigail's like, well, bugger teacher.
Nice.
Well, all of that was cryptic, so I think it's time for a game. Interstitial. I hate you all. this week has, to share too much with our audience of fabulous necromantic strangers, not been great. I have definitely been in the I will kill you headspace, so it seems only fitting that this week we're playing Acid Jail. That's right. To give Mercy full credit, she understands my underlying desire to correct bad behavior with elaborately constructed acid fantasies. That would be HCl, not LSD. This week, I've asked each of our glorious hosts to construct a fitting and fully pedagogical punishment for the perpetrators of the perceived slight of their choice. Brooke, would you care to go first?
I'm not a particularly vindictive person, by the way. More petty than anything. My idea of torture is very sensory. So if I really felt like somebody fully, truly deserved it, which I don't think I've ever felt this, I would submit somebody to being trapped in a straitjacket in a place that is just slightly too hot and humid. Every meal is soggy. Oh. And there's a novice opera singer just caterwauling without end.
Oh God, that hurts. Is there any like clear perceived slight that you would want this to be for? Like, what would they learn from this? Just not to cross you.
Do better.
Good God, that's terrifying.
That's wonderful. John, do you have an acid jail to share with us?
Yes, and so once again, I was subject to traveling through Boston traffic and just the quality of drivers. And we've talked about this before, but just the people that block the box or just cut you off or like block intersect. Just so basically it would be like if you do a traffic violation that's particularly egregious and screws at least like 3 times as many people as it helped you. So like if you're screwing one person, that's fine. Like if you cut off one person, that's fine. If you cut off like a whole line of cars, like I want a like series of helicopters with giant magnets. And they just pick up your car and they move you to the back of the line. And then if they have to do it again, then they start taking pieces of your car. So maybe you lose a wheel or your air conditioning breaks. And so by the end of this,
instead of having your phone taken away from you.
Yes, if you do it by multiple times, all of a sudden you will find yourself without a windshield and your air conditioning is broken. And you're going on 3 wheels. And then we will train these folks to be better and more courteous, self-aware drivers.
That's beautiful. I want you to know, John, that so I've been working for a while with a friend of mine from high school. We're writing a novel, and it doesn't matter. One of the characters in the novel is writing a novel that's a counterfactual history where everything in the world is like perfectly the same except for one thing that's changed, and it's whatever the like downstream effects are. And the one thing that's changed is that Boston drivers are actually really good drivers.
So it's a fantasy.
It is. Marie, do you have one?
This was really depressing because I started thinking about my jail and then I was like, oh God, it's just me recounting a more compressed and like heightened sense of like my sensory hell of just the past week and my general existence. So the people who are going to receive this jail are the ones who insist on like rules for rules' sake. This is the jail. It is a very bright white room with the fluorescent bulb that keeps intermittently flickering in my lab because it needs to be changed. And the constant, very, 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 very loud hum of my deli fridge in my lab when it's on. Additionally, it is kept at 68 degrees, but 68 degrees, and you are a person who produces estrogen, so you feel temperatures always colder, and you are only dressed in a tank top and shorts at 68 degrees in this room. Also, you are only given enough water to be not actually thirsty, but not actually hydrated, because I'm a dumbass and I keep not actually drinking enough. And so I'm never actually thirsty enough to actually become hydrated, but I'm always just constantly a little bit dry. And the final icing on the cake is that it is now, I'm just waiting for it to happen. Every year in August, just the way that the building is shaped and the way that my office is, the air handlers, like on the top of the building, need their filters changed. And when they need their filters changed, they start to vibrate on their pads just a little bit. And that vibration hits nowhere else in the fucking building except right down to where my chair sits in my office, so that it is a constant, just tiny buzz. And that is the jail.
I love that.
Is your work environment.
That's really funny.
Heightened.
Heightened.
No, there's one more thing. There's one more thing. There is one more thing. I have been going out to the field, and I am desperately, having grown up someplace that doesn't have ticks, having lived everywhere that doesn't have ticks, and now having moved into a place that has ticks, and then also has the type of ticks that can make you allergic to meat.
Sorry. Alpha gal.
We've been going out to the field, and then you pick tree branches, and then you pick leaves off of the trees, and when you do that, the ticks fall onto you. And so I did not actually have any ticks on my skin when it came home and washed off, but during the trip I was brushing ticks off of me, and so for a week I have felt like there are things crawling on me. So add that to also.
No.
This is actually, that's deeply upsetting.
That's deeply
and I just want to
upsetting.
add one thing that I think could make it even better, which is that anytime this person tries to ameliorate the situation, they are then told that it's the rules.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I started to build this acid jail, and I thought it was really funny, and then it got very depressing very quickly.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm a little bit hesitant to tell you about my acid jail because it's so much more upsetting than any of your acid jails.
Oh, go for it. Okay.
Remember, Hannah's the one that was in the I want to kill everybody headspace.
I'm not doing well, maybe. It occurs to me that I am not doing very well.
Oh, no.
Okay, so this is an acid jail. This is an acid jail for anyone who is selfish. And buckle up because it's about to get real icky. So here we go. Only thing you can do is take until you can take no more. And you finally become the kind of person that doesn't take from other people.
You want to talk about it?
It's on your faces. I'm telling you, you might have to cut this.
Hannah, do we need to have a little pivot?
I hope that was cathartic.
Oh, yes. I feel great.
Okay, good.
Yes, it's time for rampant speculation.
We might want to cut that.
We might want to cut it. It's upsetting. Act 4. The uncertainty of the insane. Brooke and John may be freaking 4-year-olds, but their conspiracy theories are as good as any 10,000-year-old lictor. So, Brooke, John, what the fuck is happening?
I really want to talk about AL more. And let's start with first, is the body AL?
I don't know.
Right? Yeah, the body's got to be AL.
Yeah.
I live for the size. I live for the...
The body's AL, but
Okay, so the body's AL.
Sorry, when you're saying the body, you mean what's in the tomb or the visage that's following Harrow around, or both?
Right. So you had the thought that this is Gideon's soul's projection kind of excavated from Harrow.
Yeah.
How does this square with the fact that the body takes on the form otherwise of the body in the tomb, which we are fairly certain is AL, given what we've learned this week?
No idea. I think Gideon's somewhat in the body because the body now has yellow eyes.
To me, that's just her temporal lobe getting fucked with.
Interesting.
It's a hint.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's a lot of descriptives around AL this week that I felt were worth kind of going through. I mean, God describes her. I think, that definitely seems to be the right pronoun. Defender, soul companion, my Adam, which is a weird one. My Adam is the one who ate the apple.
No. Eve ate the apple.
Eve ate the apple. Wait, what? Shit. Tell me the story. Right. Eve ate the apple, the original sin.
Yeah, women are bad, Brooke.
AL is Adam.
Hannah, do you have some way you want to extend this analogy for us?
Oh, no. I mean, I was just going to say that God creates Adam in his image and then creates Eve more or less as a companion for Adam. Eve is sort of a second
Okay, so
thought.
we want to go with Jod being God in this analogy and Adam being God's creation. Okay, so that is, guide, friend, companion, also apparently an object of romance given the Annabelle Lee and or of romantic ideology of Annabelle Lee and Annie Laurie. He also describes her as the first resurrection, who is not a normal human being. Teacher seems to be talking about potentially the same person as the devil who bent for God to put a leash around her neck. To me, those were the same. Am I drawing a line that wasn't made for you?
Yeah, so this is interesting. I'm starting to wonder, like, did God, when he, like, conquered death, because, like, we got a slightly different timeline than what I proposed. So, like, my rampant speculation from last week is already just complete garbage.
Necromancy was before the need for a resurrection.
So did he, like, humanize the devil? Like, was he, like, in love with, like, the concept of death? When he became God, he was, like, his companion's literally going to be, like, the personification of death?
Let's talk about that. He says, the Emperor tells Harrow that in a very real way, you and the others are AL's children. There would be none of you if not for her. So that could be interpreted in a lot of ways. One of which is, like, that God wouldn't have necromancy without her, as if, like, she's the source of his powers. He made a deal with the devil or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's referring to the fact that she was his guide and helped him, like, you know, transition into his role as God. And it's more just about that he wouldn't have resurrected other people and, like, taken on this role of God without her. Or is it, like, something that her powers are what, since she is the first, is, like, what gives all the other lictors their powers? So you're saying we just don't know enough.
Is it literally just, like, he, like, lictored death or the devil and then, like, was, like, still made, like, a human version?
Yeah, I liked your whole thing about, like, oh, he's lictored the devil. We've said that for a while, and I still think that that's a good idea. Or a reasonable idea, and it could have been related to AL here.
Yeah, what do you do with all the energy, right? Like, that's the whole, like, I don't know. There's something there, but we don't know.
Let's put a pin in that, because I want to go back to talking about the Emperor. But then the last thing we have related to AL here, at least, is that she died after the first assault. Teacher describes it as they, being the lictors, they bade him kill the saltwater creature before that she could do them harm, and put her in a box. And once that rock's rolled away, once that tomb's levered open, the Emperor will never know peace again. The king is dead. So this is the monster. They're calling it the saltwater creature that is the devil. And we don't know how she died. Like, is this a situation where the teacher's basically saying that the lictors told God to kill her? God just said she died after the first assault, like, very not ascribing blame to anybody. An RB could have killed her or could have, like, infiltrated her, which we talked about her being a monster. Was she a monster initially? Did she become a monster because she's absorbed that missing RB?
I don't think we've ever had a giant rampant speculation get torn to shreds so quickly immediately after. So yeah, we got to. I'm kind of back to the drawing board here a bit on, like, on the timeline.
You were talking about how God going in the river. You thought that what would happen would be that the devil would take over and just be like, I don't know, trying to make something happen. But that's an assumption that he has lictored a devil. And we don't know anything about his lictoral powers, right? Like, as far as we know, there's no cavalier involved in his powers.
Yeah, he's just God. But, how did he get his powers? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also very weird for him to be like, what happens to you when you go in the river and the cavalier comes and keeps the lights on is what happens to me? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Is he just like a turbo lictor?
Yeah, but the analogy doesn't seem to fit. And so I think he's, like, maybe not giving the true answer when Harrow asks him what happens why he goes in the airlock, because he suggests basically that he's, like, constantly, consciously fueling Dominicus, even though he also uses the word reignite. He says, if I lost control of my necromantic powers, all these things would go out, which is, like, multiple levels of problematic.
Yeah.
One of the levels of problematic is just that, like, it doesn't clearly make sense that, like, he's consciously, constantly for the past 10,000 years fueling them. And if that were the case, that's a super precarious situation. So why would he leave them in that environment when the rest of space is available to us? We have these Earth-like planets that we've seen that are capable of supporting human life. I mean, it's like a very God figure-like thing to do, to leave people in a position that requires his, you know, omnipotent powers, but, like, that's all fucked up.
Yeah.
It does also, like, doesn't fit with the analogy of him having a cavalier. And if it's not true, why? So he didn't answer the question. We don't know.
If the sun went out, right, turns a black hole, sucks all the planets in, those are the only planets with that produce necromancers, right? So, like, that's the end of necromancy as, like, a base of power. It would be like the end of his like religion, right? Like, or like his godliness.
It's either fucked up or completely not answering the question. Hey, do you want to talk about the fact that you probably are right about Gideon having to have some of God's blood in her, even though I've thought you were really leaning on something useless this entire time and it didn't make sense. And only this week am I willing to say you have to be right somehow.
Yeah, I think we're chalking this one up as confirmed now. Like, we're going to put that one, I think, in the win column. Yeah,
I agree. Harrow definitely got into the locked tomb. Yeah. She told Gideon so in book 1. It's not just like this weird invention of her of her present self. So she got past the blood wards, and she did it one day randomly. She says it was the day that she tried to kill herself, but it was also the day she got in
that huge fight with Gideon.
Cat fight with
in the original story, right? It's different because Gideon doesn't exist in the meanwhile canon house, which makes me think that
she can't tell God the whole truth here.
Yeah, well, she doesn't know the whole truth, right? It's part of her.
She's incapable of telling God the whole truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So she got past the blood wards, potentially due to Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be literally no other explanation. He's basically forcing us to go to what you hypothesized literally insanely based off of a comment about there being flesh under nails. That's sick, John.
Appreciate it. I'm frustrated. I put the mega theorem is dead, and now we need to make a new mega theorem. But also we don't know. We spent the entire first book complaining about Gideon as an unreliable narrator, and then we have an unreliable god. It's
and an unreliable half excised narrator in book 2 too.
Yeah. So I guess so. I think the only other thing I want to talk about this week was just that we got confirmation that there is something literally physical going on in Harrow's brain, and the necromancers, when they touch her, can figure out God sees that there's something wrong with her temporal lobe. Mercy says she's either a genius or an idiot, or whatever the phrase is, genius, idiot, or clearly something literally physical about her memories
Harrow can't
and stuff.
Detect, though.
That Harrow
said that she looked at herself and she couldn't detect it.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the sleeper in Canaan House? Who's the sleeper? And why is Canaan House growing a reproductive system? I feel like this has got to be related to the devil producing henchmen. You have this idea that this is all going to just be one large Greek demigod story of a demigod being produced to kill God.
I think this might be a next episode to flesh it out a little bit more, because it's just it was literally a thought after we wrapped up our last episode, and then I went immediately to Hannah's house and started drinking and didn't put enough thought into the follow-up.
Put a pin in that one.
Well, I guess we'll see if any of that happens next time when John and Brooke go back to the beginning in Harrow the Ninth, chapters 38, 39, and the Epiparados.
If you, dear listener, are like me and John reading along for the first time, make sure you find our reading calendar on our website, frontline5th.podbean.com, or follow us on Instagram or TikTok. And to support us, you can buy merch or join our Patreon, all of which are linked in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends and give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can. And if you didn't like it, feel free to lie. Now head off to sleep, my baby necros. Mommy and Daddy have some deep spoilers to discuss.
Get in, losers. We're going speculating.
Act 5, a genuinely chaotic space.
Warning, this portion of the podcast is 98% spoilers and 2% snickering.
Seriously, we will spoil anything and everything in the series up through Nona the Ninth. If that's not what you want, turn back now. Oh, so much this week. Brooke thinks that the body is AL. That's correct. And John is still on his God, lictored death, or God lictored the devil, which I think is really interesting. They also are on this chaotic run of AL being associated with the resurrection beast, maybe by lictoring it or something, which in fact AL is herself effectively a resurrection beast. Yeah. There were some fascinating things that actually I want to talk about in general. John said directly, is he a turbo lictor about Jod? And I think that that's really interesting. So this is something I have down here under Jod's lictordom and powers, right? In theory, they lock him away because they think his necromancy would fail with his soul in the river. later, if memory serves, he explicitly says that he's always just let them think that this is true and it's not actually true, which is something that Brooke clocked. She said, I think he's not giving a true answer. It doesn't quite make sense. And I think she's right. It doesn't make sense. I also think that you and I do not yet quite understand his powers, quite understand his format of lictordom. As far as I know, we never see him go just soul into the river. We've seen him go bodily into the river, which doesn't engender cavalier shit happening. I literally don't know what happens if you put Jod's soul into the river.
I feel like there's a handful of things going on here. One, the lictors know what Alecto is.
Right, that's referenced, right? They know that it's Earth. Question mark? But they don't know that Alecto was his cavalier. They know that Alecto was his bodyguard, but that's like part of why they freak the fuck out when they understand the eye exchange thing. They finally understand that it's a cavalier situation, not just two independent people.
But I think they've always suspected. They've always suspected, because why would they start the lictor process unless they understood? No, I guess they could just be like, oh, we're just looking for a way to have what you have, to have a source of power.
Yeah, and they start measuring what it does to exchange souls and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know how much he coached them during that, trying to figure out the lictor process, if he was sending them in one direction or another. Right. One of the things also actually that Brooke and John said that feeds into another thing that I really want to talk about today. They mention that if it's true that if God is impaired, Dominicus goes out, then the responsible thing that a non-selfish person would do is to move the 9 houses off of the 9 houses planets and instead to some sort of planet or solar system where there are habitable planets, which we already know exist, right? Harrow just killed one last episode. And that part of the reason he maybe doesn't do this is because he likes that they are dependent on him.
Well, if you did that, you would not have necromancers.
You'd lose necromancy, but also who cares, right? So he's like willing to put exactly. So like I wrote this whole thing in my phone while they're talking about how classic. I so think Jod is this interesting character. It's a really classic form of abuse and form of abusive relationship, actually, to be very generous and loving until you suspect that the other person is not subservient to you, and then you turn on a dime and become cold and vicious and like...
Well, and they're going to see that. It's terrifying.
Yes, it's deeply frightening, but it also, I think that like we should not dismiss how it feels, for instance, for Harrow to feel loved by this person that she desperately loves. So actually, one thing we didn't talk about last episode, but from those last chapters, Harrow talks about how your love for God was akin to your love for the beautiful riverbed edge of the Iliac crest. Your love for God was like those moments of reprieve immediately after waking when you were not sure who you were. Those moments of living in another Harrow skin, a Harrow who understood everything with the purity of completeness. It was a relief to worship thus. So it is this, again, abusive relationship where I think her love for Jod is pure. And I think in these moments when Jod says things like he wishes she were his daughter, he thinks that he means them. It's this, he has genuine care and love for these people until the second they burn him. And that's the thing, is that he likes them to be subservient. He likes everyone to be subservient, and he sees them that way. So when he's talking about Alecto in this one, he talks about her, she was my Adam. And I'm sitting there like, you absolute motherfucker, this is the earth. You are her Adam.
Right,
like,
but
she is the one that raised you.
Because he made the body.
Yes.
He made the
so like he sees it as ownership, and he wants it to be ownership. And that's also like clear in some of the things he says. He says, I was a landlord with no tenants. And I'm like, bro, your best version of yourself is you want to be a landlord where everyone's paying you rent. Like he's not doing this out of the good of his heart ever. And I think exactly the same thing where like you could potentially move your people into a safer circumstance where Dominicus could never fail, but he's unwilling to do that because his best version is that he is God. You know what I mean?
We were talking last episode, deep things that I wasn't necessarily going to keep in, that I don't think that I kept in.
Yeah.
About how your own experiences really color the way that you see things. And my experiences and the way that I think about parenting color the way that I think about how Jod goes about this, which is that one of the things that, and it very much was taught to me as an attitude by my own mother, which is the attitude that most people have of their children as extensions of themselves. And possessions, and not actually truly other people. They do not see their children as people, and then they are shocked when their children grow up and want nothing to do with them because they have never treated their children as people, and so there is nothing there. But it truly is this strange, abusive thing, and it's how Jod reads to me, which is and it is so fascinating, and it is so interesting, and it's like honestly so difficult, like, because it happens really early. It's like the first moment when your children, like, that's why I always said like 3 is awful, because 3 is like the first moment that you realize, like, up until that moment, your child does not understand themselves that they are not you. And then once they do, you both have to realize they are another person.
Yeah, so you both have to come to terms with it, and it's how you come to terms with it. And Jod is the kind of person who comes to terms with it and immediately, with negation, with anger, like, no, I refuse for it to be this way, as opposed to like looking inward and saying, holy shit, I have been misunderstanding this situation the whole time.
Well, and I mean, it's very easy. Like, when you have that much power, and you do have an incredible amount of power as a parent.
Yes.
You can just go along the entire time as though they are extensions, and they are you, and they are possessions. Up until a certain point, and then you're always going to have the problem, and then it's like, well, they're always disrespecting me, they're always disobeying me, they're always doing these things, they're terrible, terrible children. And it's like, no, you do not understand that they are people.
They are humans, they have agency.
And that is how he almost sees Harrow as well. He sees Harrow not that he wants her as a daughter. He sees Harrow as he wants her as a possession, as something that he could claim, that he could claim her power, that he could claim her brilliance, that he could claim her necromantic ability, that he could claim her as an extension of him.
Yes, 100%. That is unbelievably insidious. It is fucked up. It is dark. It is dehumanizing. And also, in his inability to recognize that that's what he's doing, he is quite gentle with her. And he does. So, for instance, he says afterwards, as she's running out of the room, like, oh, you know, John, like, you haven't learned after 10,000 years. Like, he wants to be better in certain ways, and he never will be. He's not willing to make the sacrifice that is needed to let go and allow someone to be their own person. In Nona the Ninth, it's very clear that Alecto or Harrow or Nona, whoever is walking with him in this dying world, this apocalyptic world, loves him with a true purity of love. And I just want to say that that's normal, that I get it. It's the wrong person to love. He's not worthy of their love, but I understand it. Because it is this like father figure, and it is someone who sees you and values you enormously. And it takes a long time to realize that the reason they are valuing you is because you're useful to them, as opposed to because they actually see merit in you. It's tragic, and it's beautiful. Okay, all right, we got to move on. I just want to like take a moment to talk about the river. We have a bunch of things in here on stomas. We both forgot to put in how fucking weird the riverbank is. How fucking weird is the riverbank? It has stones. It has some sort of like reedy, like ferny plants. It has a bank. Where are you when you're on the bank of the river? I would have thought that you're like dropping out of reality and then you are in the river. But there is a bank. I have no follow-up to this. I think it's just a weird circumstance.
But I think you have to have a bank in order to talk about like what Abigail talks about, which is you can cross the river. The river has another side. We have only ever been on one bank of the river. What is the other bank?
The other side being beyond the stoma, but you're saying that the other side is actually the bounds of the river even above the water, that there are multiple sides and there's also an up-down.
Like you are only come to this bank of the river.
Yeah.
No, I think when Abigail says that things are crossing, or she has sent them beyond, she's not sending them down to the stoma.
Interesting.
She's sending them across the river to the other bank.
Which also makes me wonder, I mean, so again, if we're going to go, Tamsin loves the Greek and Roman mythology. So like Charon or, like the river Styx, there's a boatman.
The other thing that I think is interesting about this is we could bring up, now that you've read it, the unwanted guest.
Yes. Yeah.
And Dulcie comes back to talk to Pal while he is wrestling with Ianthe in Nibirius's body, right? And she makes references to Shakespeare, and he says, it sounds like that's a quote. Is that from something? And she says, yes, it is.
That's interesting because, okay, sorry, that's beyond fascinating. One of the things that I wanted to also bring up that I had forgotten is that Jod, so like Jod loves to use these memes and illusions, and I think it's very telling. He's the only person who has access to them. But you're saying that this is a circumstance where somehow when you fully die, both that Dulcie can come back and that she now has access to new information that has these literary references, has this whole world.
In her conversation to Pal, if you go back and like just skim it afterwards, she makes cryptic references to Pal during that about a river has two banks. And then she says something about, he says, that sounds like a quote. Is it from something? And she says, yes, it is. I can't tell you about it. You'll know someday.
Yeah. Sorry. That's really, really, really interesting. But it reminded me that not only does Jod make these references, but actually you said this time that it's so fucking weird that he says the mouth to hell, the stoma are the mouth to hell, because there is no hell that's talked about in this world. There's no sin that's talked about in this world. And I do want to point out that I think Jod was Catholic, was raised Catholic. He's still,
absolutely.
For him, this is him making a reference. It's not him making a commentary. It's literally him making a reference to a literary work, which in this case is the Bible. Like it's in the same category for him in the same way that it's in the same category for Tamsin. Well, okay, so this says, basically we're talking now about a river with two banks that you can go across, and additionally at the base, a depth, and these holes that cross over into a different space that they use as trash space. But I don't know if trash is a reasonable...
Just because you use it as a trash bin doesn't mean that it actually is a trash bin.
That's right. We do think it's where the devils come from. We do think it's where the eighth house sucks at them like a teat. So potentially that this is also like a source of power and vacuum. But I don't think I understand it.
I also know that ghosts don't go down towards the stoma, and ghosts flee the RB.
I love this connection. This was such an interesting thing to pick up on. Yeah, is there some crossover reason, something that is true about both these places and both of these meanings?
Yeah, just a note.
Yeah. So actually, let's go ahead and talk about the RBs, because you did a really beautiful job here doing some resurrection beast accounting. So the question is, which resurrection beasts are which and which ones are left?
Okay, so in chapter 2, Jod tells Harrow that there were 9, they killed 5, and 3 are left.
Which is bad math.
And so then in these chapters, we get the descriptions of a lot of them. And so I've put the descriptions where I think they might go. So we'll see if you agree with me.
Yeah.
So I think, if we go by planets, Mercury is probably number 2, which spewed quicksilver and remade itself into 100-foot spikes.
I love her descriptions.
And in chapter 2, Jod says that fell soon after the resurrection. Venus is probably number 4, which was a humanoid creature with a beautiful face who held me under the water, and it spoke in a lovely voice, but it only repeated, die, die.
Yes, I feel that's very, very Venus, and they do not mention it being dead, so maybe it's one of the 3 that remain.
I don't think so, because I think the ones that are described are the ones they've pushed.
Have actually killed. Yes. Okay, all right. I'm fine with that.
Because it leaves 3 left that haven't been described.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so then Earth is Alecto. Mars, I think, is the first one, which makes sense to me.
It was the first one we think that he killed after Alecto, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. It's literally the closest one to Earth. Go on.
Yeah, and I think they're numbered in counter, and so I think it makes sense that that Mars is the first one that came back, because Mars is probably the planet that had the most human activity after Earth in the solar system. So it says, I recall it as a great and incoherent machine. When I saw it, I thought it had a great tail and 1,000 broken pillars on its back, but Cassiopeia saw it as a mechanical monster with swords for wings and great horns of myelin, tessellated over with graves.
Can I say something that I find really interesting? So these depictions, of course, things that you're seeing and encountering in the river maybe reflect more back at you than they do in terms of like existing in themselves. So all of these things we're connecting because of our human understandings of what Venus is and means, what Mars is and means, this war planet, for instance. And I think that's really interesting. It's not the form, it's not a real form. It's not a form that Mars, the planet, had. It's what you as humans have like pushed and foisted upon it in terms of meaning. You're fighting something that's informed by your own understanding.
Jupiter is number 8, was a giant head, finned like a fish. Its ribs were bloody bandages, and its teeth protruded through its own skull, tangled about its face like a nest. It was red, and it had a single eye of green that moved all about the body.
Got it. That's why you're getting Jupiter.
Cost a man's immortal soul, because, and I think that's the one that Ulysses wrestled through the stoma. Saturn, I think, is one of the ones that's left that we don't have a description of.
Great.
Uranus, I think, is the one that kept sucking us into enormous sphincters and spraying us with worms.
Ick and or ew.
Cyrus drew it into a supermassive black hole. Neptune is Varun, number 7, the Eater, who Cassie tried to pull into the river and died for, and they haven't managed to kill it yet. So that's the second one that they haven't managed. And then Pluto. So I think the 3 that are left are Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and then of course Earth.
Electo is their own thing. I love that. Can we jump really briefly to, I have rampant Cassie speculation.
Yes.
So I still think that Cassie is not dead. And now that you have brought up both riverbanks, I think Cassie is on the other side.
Oh, I love that, because I've been with you. I don't know how we would square this.
Yes.
Now that we say that she fought number 7, we didn't kill number 7, we didn't even wrestle number 7 down.
Yes. So you even could have ridden it.
She hid in the screaming ghosts and went to the other side.
Yes. And there's this big discrepancy. So she's apparently torn apart by hungry ghosts after trying to like drag this in. Why the fuck would there be ghosts there? There's a resurrection beast there. Ghosts hate resurrection beasts.
That's why Dulcie has references. She met Cassie.
She's hanging out with Cassie on the other side. I love it. Oh, that makes me very happy. It's like not even, so it's not like you go back in time. It's just that Dulcie is now literally hanging out with Cassie.
Yeah, because I was like, it's not, that's what I was trying to square. I was like, I'm pretty sure that Dulcie has the information because she got to the other side of the river, but what is on the other side of the river that would give you information? We fucking know that Cassie has been giving information.
Oh, yes. To Blood of Eden, certainly.
And I think that Cassie, once she gets to the other side, would have all of her memories again.
Yes. And I also really like this idea. Then, I mean, we're talking about in The Unwanted Guest, Dulcie coming back and communicating. So it also suggests that Cassie is capable of visiting from the other side and potentially, I mean, who knows, returning bodily, but certainly returning in terms of spirit. And yeah, so I think it's also very, very interesting to me that Cassie actually interacted with Varun. She literally carried it mind and body into the river. So not only is it weird to me that she was torn apart by hungry ghosts, I think that's bullshit. I think she recruited a bunch of ghosts to like pretend to mob her and carry her across. Fine. There's a part of me that also wonders, she actually like touched and interacted with number 7, who then has an interesting relationship with Nona, like has things to say. And so there's a part of me that wonders if Cassie interacted with number 7, if Cassie actually has a connection to this resurrection beast and to resurrection beasts in general. There's nothing, it's just weird. It's, the rampant speculation. Marie, why does the body need to go away? I don't understand it.
Because you can't have 2 RBs?
Okay, so you can't have 2 RBs. Or we know also that, like, potentially number 7 arrived so fast, came towards them because it was following the body. Like, it also has some sort of affinity for this other resurrection beast.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, good. That's just question marks then. All right, I think the last things that I wanted to say were in the Canaan House bubble just a little bit. I think it's hilarious that even after learning about Palamides' bubble, our newbies have not actually made that connection yet, which is unusual for them. They're usually on that shit. So, we have fooled them for a whole other week.
Especially the things that teacher said, I didn't totally catch them, but the ones that you wrote down, he is telling them. Teacher is telling them without telling them what is going on. That it is a bubble, that Harrow has rules, and that Sleeper is not part of the rules. That Sleeper is something else, and there is no fucking thing that they could possibly do because it will not obey the rules because it is not part of the bubble.
He says what will later be true. He says your weapons literally will not rend its flesh. It will not respond to the blades within, which is all we have. We only have things that work in this world, and it is not of this world. I think that's exactly right. And there are other things here that I think should give a little bit of a hint about the fact that something about this is off. Dulcie is not dying. And in fact, Dulcie is not dying partially because she's reinforcing her own rules that she always believed that if you thought hard enough,
you just get better.
I also really like Abigail can always tell when Harrow is lurking and says that it's because they're used to the fourth house eavesdropping, but Harrow's a fucking silent. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, no, it's just that Abigail basically only turns on even potentially when Harrow is there, right? Like they're skipping time between all the people in the bubble think it's been a much shorter amount of time because they're not doing things when Harrow is not in it.
They are only in the bubble when Harrow is sleeping and Harrow is not sleeping.
Oh yeah. I also wanted to say with the organs, which are newbies 100% clocked. So literally every single time I've read Harrow, I think I've just skimmed across this and been like, generic 2B organs. And I have never bothered to actually look at the details. So I never bothered to look up the word fimbriae, which is very much about an ovary. And I never bothered to pay attention to the description. So my favorite was actually they would pouch out with whitish pearl bubbled globules secreted away within their flesh. And if you've ever dissected out a mouse ovary, this is exactly what it looks like. So again, I was like, God damn it, Hannah.
The things moving through tubes is sperm. The fimbriae
I was like, you dumb
the fallopian
fuck.
tubes.
Because you have been telling me this over and over, and I was like, I don't know, I think they're just generic bad river shit.
Like, having that imagery on your mind, like, actually makes it, to me, even more disgusting. This is also TMI that I'm going to
go for it, because I'm about to give TMI.
I'm going to have to edit out. Fuck you, Tamsin.
Oh my God. That's so funny. So this is, okay, so one thing I was thinking about, part of the reason that I didn't clock this as, oh, this is uterus ovary shit, oh, these needles and syringes are related to IVF, was because I don't understand why Wake, who's not a person who cares about having kids, who's a person who's driven mostly by spite for the Emperor, why this is a thing that's haunting her. And you think about it. What?
Because it's deeply fucking traumatic.
That's right. That's fucking dead on. This person, Wake, just had this horrible trauma alone while being pursued by enemies and then died, right? Like, that is like, of course, that's crystallized as like the last intense thought, the last biggest thing that's haunting her, Wake, that is now haunting Harrow.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild to like read that and kind of think about it. Well, let's talk about something fun for our last thing. Abigail is talking to Ortis about, it's this very funny moment actually, where Abigail is like, Ortis, my friend, my love, I can't call back your grandmother who touched part of a sword for maybe 5 seconds, however long ago. It's not going to happen. And then says, we've got a similar chance of Magnus tripping over the secret entrance to the lost chambers of the Emperor Undying. Actually, that's significantly less unlikely, as I've come to believe they run sidelong to the facility rather than never mind.
Abigail, come on, man.
Sidelong.
Come on, man.
She loves the break off in mid, and suddenly someone barges through the door. There's not time to talk about it. But I think sidelong to the facility is really interesting. So we've talked about Canaan House as being potentially partially or wholly or mixedly subsumed in the river in order to keep it pure and outside of time. But what are these sidelong chambers? This is not the facility with its tests. This is not the Lichter labs. Is it possible the Mithraeum is tethered to Canaan House, or that there is some other set of chambers that are essential to the Emperor that we literally have not encountered yet?
I'm just going to say that this is part of my my favorite spoiler theory, which is that Canaan House is partially tethered to the river, and now that Abigail is in the river, she can feel Canaan House. She can feel the real Canaan House. And so she thinks that they're like that is what is running sidelong.
Okay.
Is so other river pieces of the facility.
Yeah. But I still just wonder, like, what they are. Is she just referring broadly to Canaan House as we know it from the first book, which is tethered in the river? Or, you know, so like over and over in Gideon the Ninth, they talk about how much bigger Canaan House is than what they have access to.
It could be like the original cryo facility.
Yeah. Okay. It's literally just stacks on stacks of pre-resurrection soul bodies.
Or it could be like where they've it could be like where they've stashed the bodies. It could be.
Yeah. Okay, the secret chambers. We love a secret door.
Big down to the door. These are going to be a bitch to edit.
Yep, sorry. Act 6. See you next time, my little nunlets. Well, it looks like it's time to find out what happened to Harrow's temporal lobes, so we'll be back next week to run through Harrow the Ninth, chapters 38, 39, and the Epiparados. If you want to follow along with us, our reading calendar is available on our website at frontlinefifth.podbean.com, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, which are linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends and give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can. And of course, if you didn't enjoy it, feel free to lie. We have a Patreon, which you can join for access to bonus content every month. You can become a patron, and we love our patrons, at patreon.com/frontlinefifth. And please check out our merch at our Redbubble store, which is linked in the show notes. Finally, if you have any fun theories you want to share with us, feel free to email us at frontlinefifth@gmail.com. And with that, I'll just remind you not to unlock any tombs or enter any doors without permission because, you know, ghosts. Bye!
Frontline Fifth is a Locked Tomb podcast conceived by Maria Adamaco and starring Maria Adamaco, Hannah Grunwald, Brooke Anderson, and John Ryan. Our cover art was designed and created by Maria Adamaco, who also edited this episode. Our fabulous music was composed and recorded by Blake Anderson. Sonia Grunwald designs our killer merch. Hot! Gorgeous! The Locked Tomb series is a completely dope-ass book series by Tamsin Muir, who does not know we exist and is in no way affiliated with this podcast.